Ninde muntu wishe Florence Ngirumpatse mu 1994 muri jenoside yakorewe abatutsi, uwo wari mubyara wa Perezida Paul Kagame? Ni inkuru Perezida Kagame yagarutseho mu ruhame nyuma y'imyaka 30 ayibitse mu mutima we, ariko akizirikana uko byagenze. Mubyara we wakoraga mu muryango w'abibumbye, akaba mu gice cy'abantu bahigwaga muri jenoside, wicishijwe nabo bakoranaga muri uyu muryango w'abibumbye nyine, baza no kubyigamba. Ku itariki ya 7 y'ukwezi kwa 4 mu 2024 mu gikorwa cyo kwibuka ku nshuro ya 30 jenoside yakorewe abatutsi mu Rwanda, i Kigali hari abashyitsi benshi cyane bavuye imihanda yose, abakuru b'ibihugu, abakuru baza guverinoma, abakuru imiryango mpuzamahanga, abahoze bategeka ibihugu n'abandi batandukanye. Igihe rero Perezida Kagame yarimo avuga ijambo rye ry'umunsi yageneye abamukurikiye, yageze ku gutsindwa k'umuryango mpuzamahanga warananiwe gutabara abatutsi bicwaga, avuga no ku bugambanyi abicwaga bakorerwaga. Mu nkuru imwe anagaragaza uko amahanga yagumye kurebera abahekuye u Rwanda batagejejwe mu butabera, cyane cyane mu bihugu by'Uburayi. Ubwo rero nibwo yahise avuga ku nkuru ya mubyara we witwaga Florence, wicanywe n'umuryango we wose. Umva uko Perezida Kagame yabiganiriraga abamukurikiye.
I want to share a personal story which I usually keep to myself. My cousin, in fact, a sister, Florence, worked for the United Nations Development Program in Rwanda for more than 15 years. After the genocide started, she was trapped in her house near the Camp Kigali Army Barracks with her niece and other children and neighbors, around a dozen people in total. The telephone in Francis' house still worked, and I called her several times using my satellite phone. Each time we spoke, she was more desperate, but our forces could not reach the area. When the commander of the UN peacekeeping mission, General DALLAIRE, visited me where I was in Mulindi, I asked him to rescue Florence. He said he would try. The last time I talked to her, I asked her if anyone had come. She said no, and started crying. Then she said, "Paul, you should stop trying to save us. We don't want to live anymore anyway." I quickly understood what she was saying, and she hung up. At that time, I had a very strong heart, but it weakened a bit because I understood what she was trying to tell me. On the morning of May 16th, Following a month of torture, they were all killed, except for one niece who managed to escape, and thanks to a good neighbor. It later emerged that a Rwandan working at the UNDP betrayed his Tutsi colleagues to the killers. Witnesses remember him celebrating Florence's murder the night after the attack. He continued his career with the United Nations for many years, even after evidence implicating him emerged. He's still a free man, now living in France.
Mu kumenya neza iby'uyu muntu uri nyuma y'urupfu rwa Florence kandi n'ubu kidegembya mu mahanga hataratabwa muri yombi ngo ahabwe ubutabera, nifashishije inkuru yanditswe na Nyarwanda isobanura nibura bike mu byerekeye uyu muntu. Icyo wamenya nuko amazina ye ni CALLIXTE MBARUSHIMANA. Inyarwanda yanditse yuko CALLIXTE MBARUSHIMANA ari umwe mu bantu hakekwaho uruhare rukomeye cyane muri jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi, nubwo kugeza n'ubu ngubu atarabihamywa n'urukiko. Ku ya 28 y'ukwezi kwa 9 2010, CALLIXTE MBARUSHIMANA yagejejwe imbere y'urukiko mpuzamahanga mpanabyaha rwa ICC kubw'ibyaha yarakurikiranyweho yakoreye mu mashyamba ya Congo ni mu bihumbi 2009. Nyamara ariko ngo byaje kurangira ariko mu kwezi kwa 12 2021 hashingiwe kumenyetso bidahagije byamushinjaga. MBARUSHIMANA akurikiranyweho n'uruhare rw'abantu 32 bishwe muri jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi, barimo n'abakozi b'umuryango w'abibumbye yarafite inshingano zo kurinda. Yaje guhagarikwa nk'umukozi w'umuryango w'abibumbye mu bihumbi 2001, gusa ariko mu bihumbi 2004 atsindira indishyi z'akababaro zo kuba yarahagaritswe mu buryo bunyuranyije n'amategeko. Yari yaratangiye gukorera umuryango w'abibumbye l'ONU mu 1992, yakoreraga mu bihugu birimo u Rwanda, Angola hamwe na Kosovo. Uyu mugabo muri jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi yasigiwe inshingano zo kurinda abakozi b'uyu muryango bari batarahungishwa. Mu bimenyetso byegeranyijwe na ICTR byagaragaje yuko yagize uruhare mu gutoza intera hamwe, aza no kuziha imodoka ya Loni zifashishije. Mubo ashinjwa ko yagizemo uruhare kwica harimo uwo twavuze Florence Ngirumpatse mubyara Perezida Kagame, yamwicanye nabo bari bari kumwe. Abatangabuhamya 20 bemeza yuko MBARUSHIMANA yagize uruhare rukomeye cyane muri jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi, harimo no kwica. MBARUSHIMANA yabaye umunyamabanga mukuru wa FDLR, umutwe wagize uruhare muri jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi mu Rwanda mu 1994. Uretse n'ibyo ariko yakomeje kugira n'uruhare mu bikorwa bitandukanye byo guhungabanya umutekano mu karere. Florence Ngirumpatse yicanywe nabo yumvaga yuko arokora. Mu gihe cya jenoside yakorerwaga Abatutsi mu 1994, bamwe mu bakozi b'umuryango w'abibumbye barishwe. Uyu mubyeyi yari mu bakozi b'uyu muryango bari bazwi cyane kubera isano yarafitanye na Perezida Kagame. Mu 1990 higeze gutabwa muri yombi ubwo ibitero by'inkotanyi byo kubohora igihugu byatangiraga. Nyuma mu 1994 afungirwa mu rugo iwe hamwe n'abandi bantu bagera kuri 12 biganjemo abakobwa b'abanyeshuri bari abana b'inshuti nabo bakoranaga. Uyu mubyeyi yarabafashe, yizeye yuko ubwo ari umukozi w'umuryango w'abibumbye azabasha kubarinda. Gusa byaje kurangira bidakunze kubera yuko babuze n'uburyo bwo guhunga. Muri ibyo bihe intera hamwe zabaga zica abantu hafi y'urugo rwe, ari nako kandi bakomeza gukorera ibikorwa byica rubozo uyu mubyeyi kimwe n'abakobwa yari yarahisemo gufasha. Ku itariki ya 16 y'ukwezi kwa 5 mu 1994, nk'uko Perezida Kagame yabigarutseho, nibwo telefone yo mu rugo rw'uyu mubyeyi yavuyeho, aza no kwicwa nyuma y'icyo gihe kingana n'ukwezi yari amaze yarabuze ubuhungiro we n'abakobwa yari ari kumwe nabo mu rugo. bagiye bafatwa ku ngufu mu bihe bitandukanye. Uyu CALLIXTE MBARUSHIMANA ushinjwa uruhare mu rupfu rw'uyu muryango amaze imyaka 30 ataragezwa imbere y'inkiko mu byaha byose ashinjwa bya jenoside yakorewe abatutsi. N'uyu nguyu Perezida Paul Kagame yagarukagaho inkuru yihariye cyane atari yaravuze mu myaka 30 ishize, avuga yuko ari ubwa mbere avuze ibyo bintu.
I asked General Dallaire what happened. He said that his soldiers encountered a militia roadblock near the house. And so they turned back just like that. Meanwhile, he conveyed to me an order from the United States ambassador to protect diplomats and foreign civilians evacuating from or by road to Burundi from attack by the militias. These two things happened at the same time. I do not need to be instructed to do something that goes without saying. That's what I was going to do. But the militias ran away, or rather peacekeepers ran away from militias, were manning a roadblock. I do not blame General Dallaire. He's a good man who did the best that could be done in the worst conditions imaginable, and who has consistently borne witness to the truth despite the personal cost. Nevertheless, in the contrast between the two cases, I took note of the value that is attached to different shades of life. In 1994, all Tutsi were supposed to be completely exterminated once and for all, because the killings that had forced me and hundreds of thousands of others into exile 3 decades before had not been sufficiently thorough. That is why even babies were systematically murdered so they would not grow up to become fighters. Rwandans will never understand why any country would remain intentionally vague about who was targeted in the genocide. I don't understand it. Such ambiguity is in fact a form of denial which is a crime in and of itself. And Rwanda will always challenge it. When the genocidal forces fled to Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, in July 1994, With the support of the external backers, they vowed to reorganize and return to complete the genocide. They conducted hundreds of cross-border terrorist attacks inside Rwanda over the next 5 years, targeting not only survivors, but also other Rwandans who had refused to go into exile, claiming thousands more lives. The remnants of those forces are still in eastern Congo today, where they enjoy state support in full view of the United Nations peacekeepers, their objectives have not changed. And the only reason this group today known as FDLR has not been disbanded is because their continued existence serves some unspoken interest. As a result, hundreds of thousands of Congolese Tutsi refugees live here in our country, in Rwanda, and beyond, completely forgotten, and no program of action for their safe return. Have we really learned any lessons? We see too many actors, even some from Africa, getting directly involved as tribal politics is given renewed prominence, and ethnic cleansing is prepared and practiced. What has happened to us? Is this the Africa we want to live in? Is this the kind of world we want? Rwanda's tragedy is a warning. The process of division and extremism, which leads to genocide, can happen anywhere if left unchecked. Throughout history, survivors of mass atrocities are always expected to be quiet, to censor themselves, or else be erased and even blamed for their own misfortune. Their testimony is living evidence of complicity, and it unsettles the fictions which comfort the enablers and the bystanders. The more Rwanda takes full responsibility for its own safety and dignity, the more intensely the established truth about the genocide is questioned and revised. Over time, in the media controlled by the powerful in the world, in this world. Victims are rebranded as villains. And even this very moment of commemoration is derived as a mere political tactic. It is not. It never has been. Our reaction to such a hypocrisy is pure disgust. We commemorate because those lives mattered to us. Rwandans cannot afford to be indifferent to root causes of genocide. We will always pay maximum attention, even if we are alone. But what we are seeking is solidarity and partnership to recognize and confront these threats together as a global community. I'll tell you another story. One night, in the later days of the genocide, I received a surprise visit past midnight from General DALLAIRE. He brought a written message of which I still have a copy from the French general commanding the force that France had just deployed in the western part of our country, that operation turquoise. The message said that we would pay a heavy price, meaning those of us, the RPF, if our forces dared to try to capture the town of Butare, that is in southern part of our country. So, and General DALLAIRE gave me additional advice. He said, in fact, he warned me. He said that the French had attacked helicopters and all kinds of arms. Every kind of heavy weapon you can imagine. And therefore, we are prepared to use them against us if we did not comply. I asked DALLAIRE, I asked him whether French soldiers bleed the same way ours do. I asked him whether we have blood in our bodies. Then I thanked him and told him that he should just go and have rest and sleep, and have his sleep. After giving after informing the French that our response would follow, and it did. I immediately radioed the commander of the forces that were actually in that direction, in that area. Is called Fred Ibingira. And told him to get ready to move, and move to fight. We took Butare, which we were being warned not to enter. We took that town at dawn. Within weeks, the entire country had been secured. And we began rebuilding. We did not have the kind of arms that were being used to threaten us. But I reminded some people that this is our land, this is our country. Those who bleed will bleed over it. We had lost all fear. Each challenge or indignity just made us stronger. After the genocide, we faced the puzzle of how to prevent it from recurring. There were three broad lessons we learned as a result of our experience. First, only we as Rwandans and Africans can give full value to our lives. After all, we cannot ask others to value African lives more highly than we ourselves do. That is the root of our duty to preserve memory and tell our history as we lived it. Second, never wait for rescue or ask for permission to do what is right to protect people. And that's why some people must be joking. When they threaten us with all kinds of things, and they don't know what they're talking about.